This week's Parsha, Yosef continues to reassure his brothers that he has no tinus, complaints against them whatsoever. Yosef tells them, "Fear not, for I am instead of God?" Question mark. Don't worry about it. I'm not like God. I don't have any opportunity to judge you. I'm sure it was all good. In fact, he says that. Although you intended me harm, but God intended it for good. Why? In order to accomplish that a vast people, our people, be kept alive. So now, fear not. I will sustain you, you and your young ones. So he comforted them and spoke to their heart. And they lived happily ever after. Interesting idea. Yosef tells them that although you meant harm, but since the result was good, look, Yosef became the viceroy in Egypt, helped the Jewish people. It's all good. Now the Gemara tells us the case of the woman who was a female Nazir, a Nazira, and she drank wine. Now, she didn't know that her husband was Mayfair the Neder, annulled the vow. So she was no longer a Nazira, and she technically was allowed to drink wine. Now, she didn't know that. And she drank wine thinking that she was breaking the prohibition in the Torah against drinking wine. So says the Gemara, does she need to ask forgiveness in such a case? The Gemara says she does. It's just like the case of a regular guy, non-Nazir, a NN, okay, and he's trying to eat chazer, goes to McDonald's, and he orders a pig sandwich, and it turns out he got the wrong shipment. Rabashkin, or Milmar, Solomon's, whoever your favorite meat provider is, actually brought the kosher meat to that McDonald's, and the person ended up eating kosher meat. So do you have to ask forgiveness in such a case? You do, because you meant bad. The fact that it turns out it was kosher meat, but that wasn't your intention, and you have to ask forgiveness. Says the Gemara. So this woman also has to ask forgiveness, because there is still a remnant of sin, although technically there was no sin, but there is some type of a sin, and therefore she has to ask for forgiveness, and Hashem goes ahead and forgives her. Now, I don't understand. The pasuk says clearly that Yosef is teaching us that we don't look at the Makshava, we look at the end result. The end result is that it was good for Yosef and for the Jewish people that he ended up being sold, and all the things that happened to him. So why do we say that the woman or the man in this case who ate the meat has to ask for forgiveness if Yosef tells them clearly that they don't have to ask for forgiveness? The answer is there's a difference between a sin between man and God and between man and his fellow man. When it comes to, like the case in the Gemara, when a person does a sin which is between man and God, then it's not so much the sin that God cares about. Of course it's the sin, but it's the intention. And if you meant to do a sin, it means that you're not listening to the will of Hashem, excuse me, and therefore you have to ask for forgiveness. When it comes to a sin between man and his fellow man, then we don't care so much about the intention, we care about the act, the maisa. And that's what Yosef is saying. That since the act ended up becoming an act that brought good things to it, therefore, that's what we look at. We look at the end result. We don't care about what happened earlier. We care about, similar about Shehusham, what's happening right now. And that's what Yosef is telling us. So I just want to add, maybe that was the dialogue between Yosef and his brothers. Why they kept on asking for forgiveness. That Yosef had to keep on assuring them that I forgive you. Maybe the brothers held not like this chiluk, like this distinction between a sin between man and his fellow man and God. They didn't see the difference. They thought that all sins all have the same category. So they thought that they still had some remnant of sin. So therefore Yosef had to keep on assuring them that no, there's a difference between the case in the Gemara and our case, says Yosef to his brothers. Our case is different. That's a sin between man and his fellow man, and therefore I forgive you totally. but they weren't convinced to that right away, and that's why Yosef had to totally stress to them this difference between the two types of sins. I hope you guys enjoyed the Pilpul. A Guten Shabbos.